Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this episode and this part, we're exploring three super important data types: tuples, sets, and dictionaries. By the end of this video, you'll know how to use each one, when to use them, and what makes them different from lists. Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on the notifications to be aware of the next parts and next videos coming up. Now let's dive into the video. The first thing that we have is tuples, which a tuple is just like a list, but it's immutable, meaning it cannot be changed after it's created. And for creating that, our syntax is like this. First, of course, we need to have name for our tuple, which in this case, I'm going to use this tuple1 right here. Then we equal that with these parentheses. And inside of this, we can define the things that we want. For example, let's say here we want to have simple numbers from 1 to 4. And by having this, if we come one line below and print our tuple and run our code, you can see we got our tuple right here. But if you remember from the last part that we got our methods like pop, insert, and other things, if we wanted to write them on our tuple, so we got our tuple1 and then we want to pop. If we run, you can see we got error that tuple object has no attribute of pop. But let's say we want to replace one of these items. If we want to replace the item at index 1, for example, and we equal that with number 5, if we run, you can see that we got this tuple object does not support item assignment, which meaning we cannot change this after we created this. But you can access the items just as we did in the lists in previous parts. So we can have this square brackets, and here, for example, let's print item at index 2. If we run, you can see we got this item printed into our output. And as same as list, it doesn't matter what you want to have here. You can have both of the strings and numbers at the same time in one tuple. And if we run, you can see still we got these items. But one other thing about tuple is we cannot have single item like this. If we have our tuple and we want to store only one item inside of this, let's say actually we want to have this string of word Python here. If we run this, you can see we got this Python. But this is not tuple and the way that we want. And the way that we can create tuples with only one element inside of this is going to be our item, then our comma. And if we run this time, you can see this time we got our item as tuple. But why you should use tuples? Well, they're faster than lists and they're safe when you want to prevent data from being changed. For example, maybe you want to have some static data that you don't want to change them in any situations. It's better to put them in tuple instead of the list. But now let's come and talk about our next type, which are sets. Well, set is an unordered collection of unique items, which means no duplications is allowed inside of sets. And for that, again, we're going to create set here, and the syntax is going to be name of our sets right here. For example, in this case, I'm putting set1 again, and then we're going to have these curly braces right here. And inside of this, we're going to put our items. For example, let's say we want to have items from number 1 to number 4. And if we come here and again print our set1 right here into our output, if we run this, you can see we got our items right here. But if we have one of these items twice in our list, for example this number 3, if we come here and run again, you can see we don't have this last 3 right here, because it's going to automatically remove the duplication and only saves one of the values that we have right here. So it doesn't matter if we have another 4, another 2, it's going to remove all of the duplications and only hold one from each item. But if we have another 5 right here, if we run again, you can see we still got our 5, but none of other duplications. But here in our set, we got some other operations that it's good to know. Well, here, let's say we got another set2 right here, which this one is numbers from 4 to 6. And our first one is numbers from 1 to 4. And here, if we want to mix these two items together, what we need to do is having our set1 or set2 doesn't matter, then we're going to have this union method, and then inside of these parentheses, we're going to put our set2 right here. And now this time, if we run, you can see we got both of these items joined together, but we only saved one of the fours because it's going to be duplicated when we add these items together. And then the other one that we have, which is a very good method, is our intersection, which this one finds what is common and available in both of our sets. For example, in this case, we got our number 4 to be both in the set 1 and set 2. So we're going to have this intersection, and if we run this, you can see we got our number 4 right here. Of course, if we have, for example, number 3 here, if we run again, you can see we got both of them right here. And another operation that we have is our difference, which this one, as it shows from its names, it's going to tell us which values are different between of these items and sets. And if we run, you can see we got this 1 and 2. But if you pay attention, it's not going to print this 5 and 6 because we want set 1's difference from set 2. So it's going to grab and return us only the things that are in set 1 and not in set 2. But if we want to have items which are in set 2 and not in set 1, we need to change the place of these items. So by having this syntax, if we run, you can see we got this 5 and 6 this time. But unlike the tuples, which we cannot change these items after we created them, in sets we can add and remove items here. So if we want to add number 7 to our set 1, what we can do is have our set 1 and then we have this dot add and have number 7 right here. And now if we print simply our set 1 here, if we run, you can see we got our number 7 right here. And as same as this one, we have our dot remove, which if we have this set 1 again, then we have this remove method. And here, let's remove number 2. If we run this, you can see this time we don't have our number 2 inside of our set. Now, the last thing that we want to talk about in this part is our dictionaries, which these stores data in key value pairs. And it's like a mini database. And the syntax and the way that we're going to create this is having the name for our dictionary. For example, in this case, I'm going to create the dictionary with the name of person. Then we equal that again with our curly braces. Pay attention, in our sets, we got our curly braces, and then we put items like this and comma between of them to create sets. But in dictionaries, unlike this, we're going to have this string as our key, for example, the name, and then this double column, and then the value for this name. For example, let's say we got this Jack here. Then we put comma right here and come and put the next key that we want to have. For example, let's say we want the age of this person. So again, we got these columns and we put the age, for example, 30. And then again, we can have and add other things that we want. Pay attention, in dictionaries, we store all of these datas which are related to this person, for example, this Jack, in one dictionary. And this basically holds several values. Let's say we want to store the name for person 1. We're going to have this person 1 name variable, then it's going to be this Jack. Then let's say we want to have another person 1 age. We equal that with its age, which is 30. And let's say we have several other things. This can be, for example, city, which let's say he's in New York, and going on. This is a complex way and not good way to store all of the data related to one person and one subject. Instead of this, we can have our dictionary about our person 1, and here we can have this person 1 and have all of these data. And for example, let's add our city here too. So we got our city to be New York. And then after we created these items, we can access anything and any item inside of this. Pay attention, here in our dictionary, we're going to refer to this one as our key and this one as our value. And basically, we got got person 1's name to be Jack, person 1's age to be 30, and person 1's city to be New York. Then for accessing only one of the value, what we can have is, let's say we have our simple print here, then we target our dictionary at first. So we got our person 1. But unlike other things which we put index right here like sets or tuples or lists, here we're going to put the key for the value that we want. For example, let's say we want the name. If we put the string of name right here, if we run, you can see we got this Jack printed into our output. Of course, we can have our age. If we run, you can see that. And as well as that, we can have our city. And all of them are going to work very efficient. And if you want to print all of them together, you can have print this person 1. If you run, you got all of the things that you put right here. But how we can add and update our items inside of person 1 using code? Well, the way that we're going to do that is having again our person 1 right here. Then we're going to have our square brackets and we're going to put the key right here. For example, let's say we want to change person 1's age. So we put this age right here and then we equal that with, let's say, number 20. Now if we run again, you can see this time our age is 20 and not 30. And we updated it right here. But let's say we want to add another field and key value thing into our dictionary. The way that we can do that is having our person 1 again, and here we put the new key that we want. For example, let's say here we want to save the job for our person, and then we equal that with the value that we want. For example, let's say we want to say he is programmer. And now if we run our code again, you can see this time we got another field of job, which is this programmer. And if we want to remove one of these items entirely, for example, let's say we don't want to have the city for our person, what we can do is using our del. And this del simply is going to delete the field and key value pair that we want to remove. And here we're going to have our person 1 again, and here we want to remove this city. And now if we run, you can see this time we don't have that city anymore. Here in our dictionaries, we got some methods that are very useful and we can use. Which the first one is the method of keys. Which what this does is going to grab all of the keys and return them for us. So let's say here we got the key and then the value. And if we run this keys, you can see it grabbed all of the keys for us. Name, age, and city. And printed all of them for us. And as same as this keys, we got this values. Which this one is going to grab all of the values and return them for us. But another one which we can use, which is going to grab the items and each pair and return that for us, is our items method. And if we run this, you can see this grab the key here, which is the name, and the value, which is this Jack. And we can use this in several functions, and it's very useful in using our dictionaries. And dictionaries are ideal when you need to associate labels or identifiers with values, like names, IDs, prices, settings, and more. Now you know how to use tuples for fixed data, sets for unique items, and dictionaries for key value storage. And if we want to have recap for all of the things that we learned together, well, here we're going to have our dictionary, which is like this. We're going to have our sets, which is going to be like this. And the first one was the tuple, which is going to be in parentheses and like this. And if we want to have some note about these items, well, the tuple can't be changed after created. Then we got the set, which has this unique items and no duplications. And then we got our dictionaries, which these are the key value pair like mini database in program. And this was the recap for this and what we learned in this part. In the next video, we'll dive into functions, how to write reusable blocks of code that takes input and return output. If you enjoyed this part, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for the next parts. See you in the next one.